want a break? Should we take a break? Or just continue? At what time is the flight? Your flight is at 7?
I'm leaving.
Oh. Welcome, ma'am. I was just trying to balance the blood sugar levels. But welcome, and thanks a lot for coming. If you could please just state your full names for the record.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored and I'm privileged. I, Vivian Manuel, swear that the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If you could first start by introducing your organization and your role in your organization.
Okay. I just would like to say that I'm one of the founding members of the South African Network of Women in Transport. I've also had the privilege to represent the Triple BEE on the bus industry, and I'm thankful that I could have the privilege also to be invited by the Competition Commission of South Africa to make my voice heard, and I've waited long enough, and I'm so pleased I'm the last speaker because no one's got flights and we've got the whole night to ourselves.
Yeah, I think you may go ahead with your presentation.
I'd like to give the background that fate would may be the way it is. I also want to say that in memory of my late husband and son, this gives me so much because it also comes with a husband who gave me the opportunity as a qualified diesel mech to teach me the transport industry coming from a corporate world. So not to give my age, I've been 18 years in the bus industry, and this became my passion and the vision. And Grace Journeys was named after a woman called Grace Mavuso. She was dismissed for giving us the money to be able to buy our first bus, and therefore Sandwood was formed as a vision to go to the late Minister Dula Omar and saying that our democratics in the country is more women, and if we are going to allow women to come into this industry, we're going to be able to create more jobs. We are going to be able to see this country where women will take things in their hands. We as South Africans should not say what is our need, but what is our seed. And as a little girl, I was a passenger on high school on the Patco bus services. And Uncle Morgan was the driver. And my position on that bus was on the engine, and my front bag was on the front. And I said to Uncle Morgan, who became my driver, why is the buses at the back A, B, C, and W? And he took me into a depot, and he said, spot the difference. The A was for African, and the African bus interior had black seats. It was for Asian, it had maroon seats, not very much material, very thin. Took me to the B, which was for black seats. It was black plastic seats. He took me to the bus for C. It was brown wooden seats. When he took me to the W bus, it was for white. It wasn't blue as the color of this commission, and the seats were so different, so comfortable for your back and your butt. And then I get married to a man that was in the industry. So fate makes it that today I can speak after 18 years. I then had the opportunity to subcontract for PATCO. I have death threats on my life. My staff was put into one bus, which is a family-owned company, 10 drivers, at gunpoint. I had to have the intervention of the Minister of Safety and Security when I had an SMS from one of the drivers to saying, there's a gun, we've been gathered and manhandled, and therefore we're not sure if the trigger will be pulled. Because I was adamant to say to PATCO, running 10 buses from Sebokeng to Meyerton route, why am I not being empowered on this route? And that I can say is that the tender that was awarded was a 70-30 split. I wasn't getting 30% of it. They gave me 14,000 a month on each bus, and some routes didn't have any incomes. What helped and compensate was special hire. And as I tried to speak and saying, how do you call this? Also, in the same way, I became part of formulating the BE Charter. So set-asides was clear on the table that we were never going to fight the mafia. And I want to say, and I've said it, and I want to say that if my life gets taken, I'm prepared to die for it. We have had the altercations that I sadly, before we had lost any of our members, I had to stop the route based on the fact that someone was going to be killed. And I say that because when after the altercation of the 10 drivers did I not know where this was coming from. And as we had to go out and we were told that we'll have police protection, did I not trust our police? And as we went out that morning in June, I then said to the staff, your please call me will be your distressing call. And then buses will be turned back so that we can make sure, and I'll be on the route with them. And as we went that morning, the first bus was attacked with Harris in, and women jumped out, and we could turn back the other 9 buses. And when I rode past, it was a group, more than 60 men gathered with machetes, with pangas, and that can clearly tell you what was the outcome going to be, let alone the shattered glass, and the bus was idling, and thank God Harris managed to get away. And then I knew this was the end of what would make perhaps I'm sorry.
Would you like us to, Ms. Manuel, take a short adjournment?
Continue. But I'd like to say that I had asked PATCO, the National Department of Transport, the Provincial Transport, to address the issue. Now, if you're talking from 2000 to 2009, and I brought in Mr. Dagi Klute to come present that what I was saying, we're running at losses, this is a disempowerment, this is an insult to black-owned women in the industry. Thank you. And when he looked and crunched the numbers, for 9 years, we were running at a 35% loss. My son had asked me, my eldest one, Mommy, to all that has happened? Will the Competition Commission compensate now that we have nothing? Needless to say, it's the tenaciousness of a mother who will continue pushing and forging that the voice will be heard. I said on record that now that we know who was behind it, it was the Taxi Association from Meyerton, who was instructed by PATCO to take the white women off route so that they could enter in. Clearly, there was no 30%. It also turned out that the documentation on the tender, where the page showed the 30% split within government, was no longer there. And then I said to PATCO, what I'm saying now to you, that it's fine to what has happened, but I will continue this fight so that we will see change. And then I said to the officials, the reason why you're not fighting my issue is the brown paper envelope. And that I made as a statement. And the next day was Saturday, and one of PATCO's employees came to my home. He said, I never slept. I said, why would that be so? I know it was a tough one. He said, how did you see me give the brown paper packet to the National Department person? I said to him, did you put the money in the brown paper packet, or were you just the messenger? He said, I was just the messenger. So that proves what I was saying and what is happening is a fact. And I'm not just saying it. And needless to say, we were running special hire from parents from Orange Farm for many years. PATCO, to show they will get me out of the industry, went on to the same route, charging half the price. And I had to have our buses repossessed. What was left, I went over to the Department of Education on scholar transport, still trying to keep jobs, still trying to keep us going. Sadly, out of scholar transport, no one could explain the payments where you don't get 3 months' money, yet you've got to pay staff, and you know what goes with that. And they can't explain to you, and when they do pay you, you don't get the 3 months' money at one point. You get part of the money, there's no remittance to it, so that you can see which month have they paid. Everything to keep into this industry has come against, because I will say what I say, it is the truth and nothing but the truth. Leaving everything, and my husband needed a heart transplant, that's why I landed in the Cape. And I'd like to thank Mrs. Taitani that she traced and trailed me so that I can have the privilege to speak today. And I must say, you positioned me well. Thank you. And I just want to say, as you are sitting here today, you've heard over the 2 days the plight and the story of where we are. Please don't take another job, or if you get to resign, because the story still will not come into action. And I hope you are going to take the oath, as you had given time, yes, also being away from your family, to listen and still continue through the 9 provinces. Radical transformation cannot be all the policies we are forming. I also would like you to answer me to say, here we were talking of all the modes of transport. When our Minister Deputy Peters, after the loss of my husband, had appointed me to serve, was this an answered prayer to come out again, to become like an eagle? Everything invested in me, and yes, it was so good to be flying SAA with all its colors, landing up at Avis. They wouldn't even pay for you to get to the airport over 2 days, so I decided to pick me up at home. So well, I felt like the Madam Speaker being picked up with Avis, dropped off, and I was at 4-star, nothing less. Your taxes you paid, I can tell you about it. I benefited as one of the Triple B persons, council member. The sad part today is, we're talking on all these modes. Since she has left, No minister has told us what's happening to what we have worked. Some of the persons who found out later we were going to get no remuneration for serving 4 years, 4.5 years. It's ironic that it also falls in June because last year I finished off. No minister in transport has told us for all the effort, for all the sacrifice, being an absent single mother to my kids. I have been stripped from everything. I'm now black and blacklisted, and I should say proudly South African. I can't even get a license to drive. I had to get somebody over there to drive me down here. I've seen everything being lost in front of my eyes to my family and what we're going through. This is not about the emotion. This is about the facts. How do we let the big conglomerates control markets, which is the heartbeat of this country, have persons out of influence also be part of it? I also had the privilege to say what I'm saying one-on-one with the Director General in Sandton offices. It has fallen on deaf ears. Time is going on, and I hope this recording will be given to my children to understand Mom has been absent, but she's prepared to talk and say what it is. I will not be part of corruption. Even when I asked an advisor to the minister, he's now fired, to say, please, a plea that I can just have my driver's license for accumulation of 20 buses. I sit with one. I can't drive a car because I can't get a license with all the accumulation. People bought buses. Buses were repossessed. Those that were stationary, they were stolen. I have nothing today. But I will not stop until we're going to see this radical transformation. And we owe it to our children. We owe it to our country. Here I'm sitting with a driver in his passing, said, please can you take my son and raise him, George Matse, who's now my son. For everything that you have become so part of a family, and to sit and see that you have nothing, then I would say we have failed ourselves firstly, and if we're not going to advocate the fact that I will stand for what I believe, and I'll go through everything. When the advisor said to me, I'll come over, he was at a holiday, perhaps even this very hotel, and he said, I'm tired of hotel food, maybe I'll come to your home. And when he came, I addressed the issue of, can I just get my driver's license? And he had supper, and as we saw him off, he phoned me to say to me, I'm very disappointed. And I said, well, I know I'm on the road, but surely was my cooking that bad? And he said, no, you didn't tell me you stay with your mom and 3 boys. I thought I'm having you for dessert. Was this the way I should get my license? Coming to Western Cape to pick up the pieces of my life and leaving Johannesburg, I started tendering, early, late nights, putting tenders in. I was not CPUT. I have been appointed to run the CPU tender after working for hours. You know what? I've taken it to the Department of Treasury to say, things are not right, please investigate. Only the procurement person was fired. It's the same company running it, and I am the person that have been awarded the contract, and yet I'm not running it. I then had tenders put in on Western Cape, in Knysna. Then the guys grouped up against me. She comes from Gauteng, and you know Gautengers are gangsters. You give them a little finger, they're going to take all the routes. And even there, that I had white folk who took me off routes, which I've evidence to that. And when I brought it up to the Western Cape government to saying, how does somebody tell me you get out of here in writing, I'm taking your contract because the contract you're running, my father's father was running it and you come from Gauteng. It's in writing. I got blacklisted too. So yes, I'm black and blacklisted, but I want to say we are not going to change anything and just have a talk show. if we are not going to get to the bottom and make a change. Rather, in your lifetime, that you leave a legacy to say, I've been part of a commission, I've been part of an industry, be it taxi, be it bus, but in that which I've been and given the lifespan, I've made a difference, even if it was to one person. And I thank you so much that I could be here today, and that I trust on everybody when we look at every situation, that we are going to do something about it. It will bring so much to us to see where we are standing. My reports on the bus sector as well as the rest of the sectors are there. I believe too that that should be an answer that we should know. I was saying that our Minister, Honorable, and I'm saying it humbly, Blade Masimande, needs to sharpen his blades, because he needs to come to the fore of what is going to happen in terms of the triple BE that has taken taxpayers' money, gone through processes, and here we are and we don't even know where it is. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Manuel. Evidence leaders, panelists. I will just like to pose a question to you, Ms. Manuel, which I asked a representative earlier from the Cape Culture heritage, which promotes the interest of women in public transportation, in the public passenger transportation sector. And the question which I posed was whether it is possible to use the licensing system to empower women, or to facilitate women participation in the industry through licensing requirements in terms of allocating, for instance, a certain percentage of operating licenses to women. Alternatively, you could have licensing conditions which require one form of empowerment or the other, either through management structures in the companies applying for operating licenses, commuter bus companies, or in terms of ownership or in terms of procurement and the like. Is this something that is that you think could be used as one of the avenues to empower women?
I propose that in the BEE, not only for women, but also for black bus operators or anyone in the field. The reason being is that the guys that control the market can buy buses, they're capacitated to do and still hold and retain. If you do not put set-asides within this industry, we will always be having a situation that we will talk till the cows come home and no one will be empowered. If we take the triple in Eastern Cape, AB 350, that is fully black-owned bus company successfully running, and yes, we can work together, and we are transporting our own people anyway. So we have a model in place. Why aren't we taking the footprint and bring it across the 9 provinces? And yes, I'm going to say for widows, how many of our members that is in a taxi association and we would address women, and then you'd see males there and you welcome them for supporting males and saying whatever the issues, tell me. And you can't believe the stories I've heard. We have lost more lives in World War II through taxi violence. And the women would tell me, we're not prepared to make a decision. We're not prepared, we cannot talk, we cannot raise issues because the men that are here is part of the association of the taxi. So therefore, we can't respond publicly because the very man that is there will control what they need to do. So that is so sad, that children are without fathers, that we have done and created ways of greed to take out so many lives. So yes, widows in the industry and new entrants, we need our young girls to be able to understand they can come into this industry on all levels. And the set-aside, sir, will definitely give them platforms to have entry. Okay. You're not going to take me out. The last speaker was here, and then you said a lot of things, so it's a bit nervous being here. So yes, I personally do believe so, because you're not going to be able to come in if you're not strong. Just going back to bus operators and understanding this industry, nobody is prepared. I've gone to Golden Arrow also to saying, is there any chance I can come in? It was get out from the director himself. And I'll tell him, yeah, again, it's just no way we will come in. It's just no way we'll get the opportunity. So we need to take it away. And in bus industry in particular, we can run and control that industry in terms of the permits on what is going on there. We can certainly change and bring about a radical transformation in that industry, let alone everything else that we can use in terms of government having certain permits over certain of the sectors that we can do so, and we should do so.
Yeah, just my last question. PADCO is currently a single service provider contracted by the Gauteng Provincial Department of Transport to provide commuter bus services. And in the case of the Western Cape, Golden Arrow is also a single service provider currently contracted by the Western Cape Provincial Department of Transport. What I would like to find to establish from you is whether, and the city made this point in their submission this morning, that these contracts could be broken down. There is no justification to have this mega contract servicing multiple routes, and that there should potentially be space to give other service provider an opportunity to also contest these routes currently serviced by these single service providers contracted by the respective provincial government departments of the Western Cape and Gauteng. What is your take on this?
If they say down with school fees, and I say down with both those companies, that they've had the benefit and still over generations. I mean, they gladly said 150 years and still around. When are we going to make the playing fields even? I don't know. I do believe this month-to-month contract has allowed them to take a lion's share in our market. They've got their pockets are lying deep, and therefore we will never see the transformation when we go out on tender. Is going to bring a change firstly. When we are going to look at the companies in terms of small companies, that we, not, well, small to start off with, but if we take the black bus operators and who are in the industry, that we take them and we get them in the position to be able to start coming in. I mean, how long are we still going to go on that the mafias of Italy who support Italy and not even South African we're saying to them, you know what, just give us the crumbs of the industry, we're happy with that. No, no, no. 76 was our time for change, and I will sing it loud and clear. Patco, Golden Arrow, I'm prepared to die for it, must be out of this industry so that new players will come in and give it back to the people. That's all I would want to see. Then I've lived my life fully.
Any further questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Manuel,
You're welcome, sir.
for your time and for kindly agreeing to make a submission, as well as for your patience.
It's
for
most
bearing
welcome,
with
sir.
us in terms of
Thank
time.
you so much to you for coming and your time.
We
Thank
will
you.
certainly take up the issues that you have raised with the relevant stakeholders and come back to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
We have now concluded the Western Cape leg of the public hearings. We will resume the KZN leg of the hearings next week, Wednesday, on the 26th of June this year. Thank you very much to all the stakeholders who have kindly agreed to participate and to assist us. We are now adjourning the hearing. Thank you very much for today.